We are live. We are live. Donna's here. Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Stacy. Just making sure everything is plugged in and working properly. Hi, Stacy. You're going to need to turn your volume off completely. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that. One moment. How do I do that? There we go. Okay. Marilyn and Larry, I assume? I assume that's the we. Yay. Good to see you guys. Marilyn, was so great to chat with you. Let's see here. I don't see the mic. See if we can, we're trying to get it up on all the feeds at the same time. And your volume's completely off, and you got it on YouTube. You're good. Okay. Mine is, but I don't. And your volume's off.
The link's just gone on the Facebook.
Go to my profile. Hey, Margie. Hi, Crystal. I'm so glad you're feeling better, Crystal.
It's not there.
On mine?
It just like disappeared when you went live.
Yeah, that's weird. Well. Very strange. And it's not on your feed anymore?
But the link expired.
We're trying to be real technical here and get lots and lots of things going to make this easy. And
it says either the post has expired or it may only be visible.
well, you know how technology.
I'm not in.
It's must have expired at 5 then when the live was scheduled.
So, but
okay.
how do people tell you if they're here?
All right. So let me just check real quickly here.
But definitely on YouTube.
Okay. Here you go. Take this. That's on Facebook, and she's on YouTube.
What's recording you on Facebook?
I'm going through
One thing.
StreamYard, which is streaming to both of those places. So, hi, Lisa. Oh my goodness, I haven't talked to you in so long. Crystal, did you ever find out what it was you were sick with? That was really long. And you can't do it. Is anybody saying anything on YouTube? I should go on there because I could see, because though, let's see. Okay. Oh, they are both showing up here. Good. Okay. Cool. Okay. So many people were going to try to make it, and so I thought we'd give just a couple of minutes for people to get in to the live. Yeah, it's been way too long, Lisa, way too long. Have you, hi, Sharon. Happy Paper People, Marianne and Sharon, commenting on there. That is Sharon. I'm just going to speak. I'm not going to comment. So, Lisa, have you been able to get back to some of the mango things lately? All right, let me get my water close by. And I don't know. I can't see everybody who's here unless you comment. So those who are lurking, just know that that's okay. You're lurking. I can't see unless you comment. If you would, though, take a quick second and give a thumbs up to the video, that will help me feel some confidence here. I haven't either, Lisa, but maybe Marilyn, Kunert, Ridgely, and Larry, they're here. Marilyn, maybe we can connect with Lisa afterwards. I want to respect the time of those who came on time and start. I also don't want to end up repeating a bunch to catch people up. Thanks, Crystal. Boy, I appreciate you. You know, if we don't allow a couple of minutes, and it's 5:07. So, oh shoot, Facebook took down the live event, Marilyn said. Okay, so everybody on Facebook. All right, so I need to go into Facebook and put a link to the YouTube one. Is that what you're saying, Marilyn? I need to put a link that they can click on. I can do that. There's the link and Facebook. Let's see. My home. And I show that when I go to Facebook, I show live. That's crazy. But let me. I'm going to put a new link in there that'll take people straight to YouTube. I responded to Doug. Okay, thanks. I already texted it to him. Okay, Marilyn, if you could tell me if that new link shows up in Facebook for people. Yeah, that's like, you know, hundreds of people in Facebook that suddenly don't know where to go because they don't even know it's going through YouTube. It is weird, Crystal. It is really weird that it takes it down at 5 o'clock, I guess, when it's time to start. It took it down. So let me know, Marilyn, if that link shows up on Facebook so that others would be able to click on it. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sharon, you might need to go in on my profile page and say something and tell people that Facebook took down the link at 5 o'clock and they can click on either that link or a link you put out. Hi, Shelly. Oh, so good to see you. Oh my goodness. People I haven't seen in forever. Margie, they are definitely not part of the teeny tiny tribe. What'd you make, Crystal? Marilyn's checking now. All right, it's 5:10. I know that there are a bunch of people who contacted me who said that they would not be able to make it at 5 for various reasons, but they will go in and watch the replay later on YouTube, and that's okay too. So I have been trying for the last couple of weeks to sit down and write down some notes, some bullet points, and can you grab me the papers that are sitting right behind the pink flowers? Yeah, and I have not been able to write anything down, and I don't know why. And that's been causing me anxiety and stress because y'all know that I like to be prepared and organized, and if I'm not, then I don't know, that causes anxiety and stress. But I just, for whatever reason, oh, Marilyn, okay, so the link was there. What I did, Marilyn, was put a YouTube link on Facebook since Facebook took it down. And so when someone clicks on that link in Facebook, it will take them into YouTube to the live. So hopefully that's what you're saying that it did. So then it did what it's supposed to do. Let me adjust this camera just a bit here. Okay. I keep saying because I think I'm hesitating, pausing, but I think we need to get started. It's 5:12, and I respect your time for being here on time, and I appreciate you all. I will be perfectly honest with you and tell you that this is not something I really want to do. Oh, hi, honey. Doug is here. Yay, my support system's all here. It really isn't something that I want to do. It's a little bit difficult for me. However, I've been feeling an extreme weight on my shoulders of a responsibility to share some information that I have, that I know, and what this one facet of my story, because it could and likely will affect, if not you, someone you know. So that's why, there we go, okay. That's why I'm doing this, because I feel this responsibility, and if I can help one other woman with what I've been through, then that's worth my time and the uncomfortableness of doing this. So I'm just going to jump in. There are so many layers to my story, and I think everybody that's here has known me, most of you have known me for a very long time, and know lots of the layers of the story. But today I'm just going to talk about the one layer that followed breast cancer. You know, before I start though, I want to take just a second and send my love and prayers to Arizona, to Ann and Jeff Boatman, and to Terry and Patrick McLeod. And if they watch this later, I just want you to know that you are in our prayers and you are in our thoughts, and we love you. Our hearts hurt for you. Been on my mind a lot, so darn it, not supposed to cry already. Okay, so where was I?
Saving somebody else from going through what you have to go through.
Okay, there's a comment from Marianne and Doug Hobbs. That is my sister Donna typing it for me. She typed that it looks like Facebook took down the live event and it's available to watch on YouTube.
It's live on your feed, though.
It is? Okay. Interesting. I guess if they go to my feed, our profile page, that it will be there. And thanks, Crystal. All right, somebody say a joke real fast so I won't cry. Whew. Okay, so.
Doug, you had one bet that you wanted to talk about.
Well, that's where I was. I asked, where was I? Thank you, honey. Okay, one facet I wanted to talk about. The facet that I want to talk about today, the one layer of my story, which just keeps layering upon layering upon layering, is the period of time right after breast cancer. Doug and I met 19 years ago this year, and we married 3 months later. Our anniversary is next week, and 3 months after we were married, Donna, can you please, oh, wait a minute, she's in here. Go to Stacy and tell her how to get on YouTube. 3 months after we were married, I was diagnosed with 2 types of breast cancer, stage 4. And our first year of marriage was 30 weeks of chemo and 6 major surgeries. And Sarah?
She said to put a joke.
Oh, it's free of charge, Sarah. Oh, thanks for the joke, Sarah. Oh, thanks for the joke. I did ask for the joke. You all know that chemotherapy is awesome because it kills all the bad cells that are cancerous, but it also kills a lot of good cells and does a lot of damage to the body. And so all the years since then we've been dealing with repercussions and consequences of having the most aggressive chemo that they could do for my stage 4 breast cancer. I am grateful for that because I am here. As Doug said, it doesn't matter what we're dealing with, I'm alive. And that's amazing. But as part of the healing process after breast cancer, I was given breast implants. And at that point, getting implants, you know, they're so mainstream, they're so common. And all, you know, woman in that position, all I wanted to do was be normal again. I wanted my breasts to fit in the same bra. I wanted to feel like a normal woman for my brand new husband who had only seen me sick from the very beginning. And so I take responsibility in that I probably didn't research as in depth as I typically do things. I just took the advice and recommendation and did it, and was just looking forward to being whole again, to being normal, feeling like a normal woman. Anyway, long story short, there's a lot of things about breast implants that we don't know, that they don't tell us. And if I get running and I get things out of order, out of whack, it's because my brain is going way faster than my mouth can. And I'm also going to say, if you have any questions as we go along, write them in the chat. Holly and Donna are going to write down the questions for me. And so if I don't answer them throughout, then at the end, I will answer all the questions. And I am not going to go deeply in depth on a lot of things because this is deeper than I could even imagine, but we would be here all night if I did that. And so if there's something that you want to pursue deeper or have more questions about, please just let me know. Just contact me. I'm happy to do follow-ups, whether it's live or whether it's one-on-one conversations or whatever that is. I think it's just extremely important that this information get out there. What I wasn't told when I got the implants, well, there's a lot of things that I wasn't told, but one of the things I wasn't told was what the ingredients of breast implants are. And I'm scrolling through my pictures really quickly, looking for the ingredient list. I do have a picture of it here because I can name a few, and I should have had this already pulled up, but you know, there are things in household cleaners and things in pesticides and poisons and things like that that they tell you don't use without gloves or a mask, or if somebody touches it or ingests it, call poison control. So you know that those things aren't good for you, right? So why would they gather all those things together and put them in breast implants and put them in women's bodies? But it's those things, a lot of those things that come from those items that I just mentioned that are in implants. Things like thallium. You may not recognize it as thallium, but you probably recognize it as rat poison. Things like mercury. You know, for many years, everybody's made a big deal, and we've tried real hard to get mercury out of our diets because it's not healthy in so many ways. Oh, shoot, I thought this was right here. Heavy metals and toxins and poisons and just the strangest ingredient list that you could imagine are what is in implants. And of course, nobody tells you that. Who wants to tell you that? But, you know, any sane woman, if she knew that those were the things in implants, would never allow them to be put in her body. And so bottom line is that they started making me really sick because it was just poison and toxins in my body. And when I'm talking with people and they ask about my story, I'm sorry I'm looking down, but I'm still looking for that list. I do want to find that. When I tell them, you know, basically what happened, the first thing they ask me is, oh, what kind of implants did you have? And when I say they were silicone, they say, oh, okay, so I'm okay because mine are saline. And they think that it's just the silicone implants that are a problem. Well, did you know that all implants, all breast implants, whether saline or silicone, are encased in a silicone shell. So it really doesn't matter whether you have saline or silicone implants. They are, they're in a silicone shell. Oh, he just sent it to me. Awesome. Thank you, honey. You are amazing. Okay, let me tell you some of the things that are in implants. Methyl ethyl ketone, cyclohexanone, isopropyl alcohol, denatured alcohol, acetone, urethane, polyvinyl chloride, toluene, dichloromethane, chloromethane, ethyl acetate, silicone, sodium fluoride, lead-based solder. That's what welders use. Formaldehyde, talcum powder, oakite, methyl 2-cyanocryolite, ethylene oxide, xylene, hexon, 2-hexanone, Thixon, stearic acid, zinc oxide, naphtha. Naphtha, the guys might know this, it's a rubber solvent. Phenol, benzene, which is a carcinogen, lacquer thinner. You've smelled lacquer thinner when you go to refinish a piece of furniture. Epoxy resin, epoxy hardener 10 and 11, printing ink, metal cleaning acid, color pigments as release agents, heavy metals such as aluminum and platinum, silica. Yeah, is that not enough right there? I mean, even a couple of those things would be enough to make you say, I don't want to be anywhere near them. I half jokingly say, I swear that they just sweep up the floors of the factories and everything they gather up, you know, on the floors, they put them together with some, you know, adhesive and make implants out of them. If they're not safe for you to be touching or using in your home, or something you'd need to call poison control if you ingested, what would make them safe enough to put in women's bodies? And to put it deep in your body, in the middle of the tissue, so that your tissue's just absorbing this stuff. And right by your heart and your lungs, no less. Only the most important, you know, of organs that you have in your body. So here's how it works. You get the implant. It doesn't matter what kind of implant. It is encased in a silicone shell. And then it's installed into your body. It's implanted into your body. Then your body creates a capsule around it. It's basically scar tissue. But this capsule, and that's what they call it. And if you have implants or you know someone who does and you want to write down some of these terms, feel free. And if you want to check with me later on some of them, please feel free to do that. Because when you can speak more knowingly, you tend to have a better conversation with doctors and other healthcare providers. Doctors don't know about this. They're just starting to be educated. So the body creates a capsule of scar tissue around that implant. And that's the body's way of protecting itself from this foreign object. And it's not just that there's a foreign object there, because we have, you know, artificial knees and hips and finger joints and all kinds of other artificial things that are implanted in our bodies. And the body creates a scar tissue around it, which helps keep it in place. But you know, people think, oh, your body's rejecting the implants. It's the foreign object. No, it's not that it's a foreign object. It's what that foreign object is made of. It's all the poisons and toxins and you know, ingredients that you wouldn't come near outside your body. Excuse me, I got to make sure I keep drinking water. So the body creates this capsule around the implant, and then they sit there. However, they're porous, which means that things can leach. You know, I won't say leak, because leak is typically associated with a tear or a rupture. And then the inside, whatever the filler is, the silicone or the saline or whatever it is, can be leaking out. But even if it is not leaking, it still leaches through the implant and through the capsule, because the capsule is just tissue, through that and into your bloodstream. So I will tell you that women don't like to tell their weight, but I'm going to tell you this. 10 years ago, when I got implants, I was 5 feet 11 inches tall, still am, and I weighed 188 pounds, and I ran 5 to 8 miles every single day. That was my life, and I loved it. I felt good, I felt strong, I felt healthy at that height and weight. Hi, Shirley and Benny. So good to see you. That's where I was. Remember that, 5'11", 188, running 5 to 8 miles a day. And then I got implants 10 years ago at that point. Looking back, I can trace symptoms starting just 2 months after I got the implants. And the first thing that I remember having was a weird kind of chemical. It's okay, I got it. Oh, here, you can put it in here.
Just trying to connect my
Because it's
phone to the
closer.
computer.
Oh, okay.
Trying to use my own light.
Okay. It was a weird kind of chemical headache. And I've never been prone to headaches or migraines throughout my life. And so it was very strange. And it was hard to explain, because it was as if I could smell chemical in my brain. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for coming. So glad you could make it. And your friends, if they're there with you. It was as if I could smell chemical in my brain. And it gave me a brain fog that made it really difficult to function. Oh, hi, Marianne. Victoria, hi. So glad you're all here. Yeah, if people went to Facebook and Facebook took down the link, then a lot of people are just going to be coming in late. And those who are coming in now, I'm going to suggest that you go back, and first 10 minutes, nothing to watch, but the next 20 minutes, please do go back and watch that if you missed the first 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, so I remember that chemical headache as being the first thing that I remember, and it just would put me into a brain fog that made it really difficult to function. I found myself sitting in a chair and wanting to do things, motivated to do things, but I just couldn't. My brain just wasn't functioning right. Hi, Gigi, how are you? Thanks for coming. That's the first symptom that I remember. And at that time, I did not associate it with the breast implants in any way. We had just moved to a different home, moving back into Phoenix, and we moved into an older home. And so I immediately thought, oh, maybe it's the ductwork, or maybe there's old paint, or insulation or something that's causing this. And so we were there for about 2 years. It continued that whole time, and additional symptoms added to that. But then we moved to Mesa, where we gutted and renovated the entire house. And when I say gutted, down to the studs. So everything was new, including the insulation, the drywall, everything. And so I thought, great, when we move into this house, this headache thing will be gone, because it's probably having to do with this house. And we moved, and it wasn't gone. It didn't go away. It just continued, and other things kept adding to it, piling up on it. And so I knew that it wasn't the house. other symptoms started adding to it. And I'll tell you some of the symptoms. I'm not going to go into detail and tell you all of them, but I had a lot of surgeries in between from the time I got implants. During the last 10 years, I've had both hips replaced, both knees replaced, tumors removed from 4 or 5 places, you know, just a lot of different things. And every time I had a surgery, my symptoms of whatever this strange illness was got a little worse until January of 2013. So at this point, I've had the implants barely over 2 years, from October of 2010 to January of 2013, where I had a surgery concentrated on my lower left jaw, and it was successful. And I came home, and within a few hours, as the anesthesia wore off, I realized that I just had massive pain in my neck and my shoulder, and I couldn't lift my arm up. A lot of you in Arizona remember this. I couldn't lift my arm up even as high as my shoulder. And the pain was just incredible. And the occipital nerves running up the back of my head were just on fire all the time. And I couldn't rest my head on the back of the recliner or on a couch or on a pillow. I couldn't lay my head down to go to sleep, because when my head touched the pillow, it just incited this pain. And so sometimes I was awake for 3 days at a time, just in pain because we couldn't get it under control, and just vomiting. When the pain got under control, all I could do is just sit in a chair and try not to move, because when I moved my head or my shoulders or my neck, it irritated those nerves and the pain just started up again. So that made it really difficult to sleep, to say the least. So I started getting, at that point, only about 2.5 to 3 hours of sleep a night. And eventually I got to where I was getting 3 to sometimes 3.5 hours a night. But I found a position where if I laid down on the left side of my head, almost on my face, so I was kind of balancing on the corner of my face and fell asleep there, I could sleep for a couple of hours before I woke up with the massive pain in my head. All right, so you know you can't go forever without any sleep, right? You become sleep deprived. So I have essentially got, well, and insomnia was an issue before that surgery, because of, you know, the headache and the things that started with that, but I didn't relate them all together. But essentially for the last 8 years, I have lived on 3 to 3.5 hours of sleep a night. And I've commented many times to Doug, I don't know how I'm still standing. I don't know how I'm even upright. And the way that I was upright, I came to find out later, not until very recently, is that my adrenaline had gone into overdrive to compensate. And my adrenaline was 1,050 points higher than it should be, than normal, which put me into fight or flight mode 24/7 for 8 years. So remember that feeling that you get when you go into fight or flight mode, and you know a bear comes around the corner, and there's the bear, and your heart starts racing and your blood pressure goes up. And that's where my brain was for 8 years, all the time. My resting heart rate was 105. My blood pressure started creeping up, and I've never had a problem with blood pressure or heart rate or any of those things. I didn't know that my adrenaline was that high. I just kept getting sicker and sicker. And one of the major things that I found affected was my muscles and my joints. Well, most of you know that I've dealt with lupus most of my life, although it's been in remission for 30 years. But that affects joints a lot. And so everybody assumed, well, you know, the lupus is bothering your joints, and now you're, you know, adding chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and these kinds of things. But it wasn't. It wasn't. The breast implants were poisoning my body, and they were slowly attacking every part of my body, piece by piece, destroying it. And it now has a name. It's called Breast Implant Illness. And if you are, for the women only, if you are interested or you know someone who has implants and you want to learn more about it, there is a private Facebook group that I would recommend to you. It is Breast Implant Illness by Nicole, I want to say. And that's off the top of my head. So I can absolutely put the link in here at the end so that you can see that that link and go in there. There are well over 100,000 women in there dealing with this. Women that are going to the doctor and being told it's all in their mind and they'll give them a referral to the psychiatrist. Women that are told that there's nothing wrong with them, that all the tests are just fine. Is that what it's called?
Breast Implant Illness and Healing.
Breast Implant Illness and Healing
By Nicole.
by Nicole. That's the one. There will be others out there, but that's the one. My research says that you can get accurate information and current, up-to-date medical information there. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 2016. By 2016, my muscles were so weak and so painful, and my joints so painful that I couldn't stand up straight. I couldn't hold my body up. And I still just kept doing what I had to do because I didn't know that there was something officially wrong with me. I thought that I was just overdoing it and never had a chance to recover from each surgery before the next thing came around, and I was worn down. And so I figured I just needed, you know, some rest, but it was much more than that. Some of the other things that come along, the brain fog is huge, memory loss and difficulty concentrating. I would find constantly that I'm trying to have a conversation with you and the words were right here in my brain, but I couldn't get them out my mouth. So they were in my mind, but I couldn't get them from my brain to my mouth, and it was very, very frustrating. Sensitivity to light and to sound and to air. There were times when I sat in the living room and I could not have the fan on up on the ceiling because the movement of the air hurt my nerves so bad that it would just send me spiraling in pain. My studio was actually a room in the house that was a mother-in-law suite. And so the closet was really large, and I had a really large desk. I took my desk and put it into the closet. And so I would have a place to go to retreat where there was no air movement because there was no vents and there was no fans in the closet. And I could go sit at my desk and do something and not have any air movement in the room bothering me. Hair loss, my hair thinned out really, really badly. Dry skin, vision, my vision was affected, and it would come and go. It was not, it just went bad. It would come and go all the time. And so I never kind of knew what I was dealing with vision. I had an outer ear infection every other week, literally every 2 weeks for years. The chronic internal inflammation of my tissues was so bad. I could feel the inflammation inside, and you know that causes all kinds of other issues in your body. I had problems with my throat, problems swallowing. I would take a normal bite of food and it wouldn't go down right, and I would choke, and I would literally have to get up at a restaurant and walk outside or in the bathroom because I was going to throw up. and would have to throw that up to get it out of my throat in order to be able to go on. Just strange, strange things. I actually have a spreadsheet of 82 symptoms that I am tracking to see their improvement. So let me fast forward then. The beginning of 2017, Doug and I felt that we were to move to Utah, and it was a quick move, and you know, it's a lot of work, obviously. It was quick in the fact that Doug found a job right away. We didn't think that he would. So we thought we'd have about 6 months to work out our plan. And he found a job right away. And it was a good job that he wanted to take. And so we moved our 6 to 8 month plan up to 1 to 2 months. And I was in no physical condition to do that. When we arrived in Utah at the beginning of 2017, I was really sick, but didn't know that I was sick because my norm was so sick that I didn't know any different. And Doug had gotten really sick, really run down and sick. And one day we took him to urgent care, and they, tested him for pneumonia and said, well, it looks like it might be, heading towards pneumonia, so we'll treat you for that. And then they looked at me and said, what about you? And I said, well, I guess maybe you should test me too, if he's got pneumonia. Well, I had pneumonia so bad and my oxygen was so low that they said if they gave me a few treatments and they could get it up over 80%, then they would let him drive me to the hospital. If they couldn't, then they were calling an ambulance. So I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia for a week right after we got here. Coming out of the hospital 2 weeks later, had a second knee replacement. So it's still, boom, 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 one thing after the other. And I'm just thinking that I just don't have time to heal and regenerate, and re-energize and rest up before the next thing hits, not knowing that it's getting worse and worse because there is an actual thing, not just me. But, as my muscles, and there's a really important social aspect of this. And this I have found with every woman I've ever talked to that deals with breast implant illness. As these symptoms start to overtake your life and you don't really know what it is, you don't have a name for it, and you don't even know what's causing it, you don't know the implants are causing it, but some days you wake up and you're kind of okay, but after about 4 hours, you're no good. You never know. You wake up every day and you have, a set amount of strength or energy, and you don't know how much that is until you've used it up, and then it's immediately gone. And just the way the brain fog and the feeling sick, and sometimes really nauseous and sometimes not, and just never knowing if you even have the strength to stand up and walk out of the house. I got to a point where my muscles were so weak and they hurt so bad that I was afraid to go anywhere because I didn't know what the seating arrangement would be. And if I sat down, I literally may not be able to get up. If there weren't arms on the chair and I didn't have enough strength to use those arms to push me up, I would not be able to stand up. I couldn't walk up the 2 stairs coming into the front of the house. There's only 2 steps on the porch. I couldn't walk up those without Doug going up first and turning around and giving me his arm, and I would wrap my hands around his arm. I was like that, and pull myself up, and he would pull me, and I would go left foot, right foot, and then left foot, right foot, just to get up those 2 steps. That's how weak my muscles became. We would go grocery shopping, and I would wait in the car, and Doug would go in and do the grocery shopping because I literally did not have the strength to get myself to the little cart, whatever they call it, in the grocery store, to even, wheel around the store. It just took too much out of me. So as you go along, you find yourself afraid to commit to social events or social engagements. because you don't know how you're going to feel on any given day or at any given time of the day. And typically in the afternoon and evening, it's when it's getting worse because your energy is gone and your strength is gone and there's nothing left to even draw on. So it affects your social relationships. And I think that the area where I felt that the most was with my Mango sisters, my Mango Chicas. I missed a lot of events. And it's hard to explain why, you know. It's when people ask, how are you doing? And I know they really care. They really care, how are you feeling? And there's just nothing really positive to say because things are only getting worse. You know, I'd get to a point where I didn't know what to say. And most of you know that I don't like dwelling on my medical issues anyway, because I'm a very positive person and I want to look at what's good out there and I want to go forth with it. And I don't want to spend time, you know, dwelling on my problems. And I don't ever want to come across or have anybody feel like I'm complaining about my issues. There are certainly a lot of people in life that have been given a much more difficult lot than I. And I don't want to complain about them, and I don't want it to come across that way. And if every time I see people and they ask, how are you? And the only things I have to say are things that are wrong, things that are worse, you know, the pain and the misery, that's not very fun. It's not very pleasant. And it's hard to explain why, you know, being afraid to go somewhere, because if I sit down, I can't get up. And if somebody asks why, I don't know why. I don't know why. My muscles just won't work. So it really affects a lot of things. All right, fast forward a little bit more. We're in Utah, and I spent 2 years working with 7 specialists at the University Medical Center to figure out what is wrong. I finally, you know, went to a doctor. Of course, this is a new doctor that doesn't know me from Eve, and said, there's something wrong in my body. There is something going on. And of course, at this point, I know he's looking at this middle-aged, overweight woman and thinking, well, if you lose weight, that would help. I'll take care of a lot of things. And I was trying to convince him that it wasn't my weight causing my problems, but it was the problems causing the weight. I will tell you that over the 10 years of having implants, I gained 162 pounds. That's more than a lot of you even weigh. That's an entire person. 162 pounds. It was just unbelievable. And having been an athlete all my life and having eaten clean and running the mountain every morning and, you know, all the things that I did, I just couldn't figure it out. It didn't make any sense. And it didn't matter what I did, it didn't change it. It just, the weight just kept coming on. And all the other problems just kept getting bigger and more problems kept being added to it. And I could tell that I wasn't getting enough oxygen to my brain or to my muscles. As an athlete, you know how your muscles should function. And I knew that part of the pain and weakness in my muscles was that they weren't getting enough oxygen. And so I'm telling the doctor, I'm not getting enough oxygen. And he's thinking, well, we just need to lose some weight and learn to take deep breaths and, you know, you'll get some oxygen. I finally convinced him to do an overnight pulse oximeter test. And then they had me redo it. I did it twice. And then when I went in, he couldn't believe that it was true what he was looking at on the paper. Overnight, my oxygen saturation dropped to 53%. And he said, how are you even alive when your oxygen drops to 53%? And I said, I've been telling doctors for several years that I'm not getting enough oxygen to my brain or to my muscles. I can feel it. So he started doing blood work and lab tests and all the other tests. And each week we would get results back and everything was off. Every level was off. And so we would do more, go a little deeper the following week and get those back, and everything would be off. And that's when we found that my adrenaline was 1,050 points higher than it should be. So he looked at me and he said, you've been in fight or flight mode for 8 years, 24/7. And I said, that's how I'm still alive, only sleeping 3 to 3.5 hours a night for 8 years. So, of course, we started, all kinds of treatments and, not knowing what we're dealing with even, but just that everything is off. And so these 7 specialists at the University Medical Center ran all the tests that they could think of, all the tests that they could find for everything that they could possibly think of. They sent me to the head of each department so that it would be the specialist of the specialists to work with me. And after 2 years, 3 of those doctors literally put their hands up like this and said to me, I don't know, Marianne, there's nothing left to test you for. And when all 7 of them had said, I don't know what it is, don't know what we're dealing with, but I don't know what else to test you for. Well, I don't know, what all your religious affiliation is, but I will tell you that that's the day I drove home from the hospital and prayed the whole way to my God and said to him, I know there's something going on and you know what it is, and I need you to please point me in the right direction. Either lead me to who I need to talk to, lead me to what I need to read, put something in front of me so that I can figure this out and take it to the doctors. And long story short, that very night he did. And breast implant illness came to light. And I got a chill head to toe, and I knew instantly that that's what it was. So I went to the doctor the next morning and said, all right, nobody can figure it out. Then I want to test my philosophy, my theory, and I want my implants out. And he said, oh no, that wouldn't be it. We've already tested for this and that. And that wouldn't be the problem. And I said, you know what? If it's nothing else, I want them out. And I will tell you that most of the doctors had never heard of breast implant illness and were very skeptical that it was even an issue. The cardiologist, amazing man, he was right on board. He said, you know what? You might be right. He said, I think you should get him out as soon as possible. I think you might be onto something. Well, then I did the research and found the best surgeon in Utah. And here's where I want to give you some information as well, because if you or someone you know is going to have breast explant surgery, there are some very, very critical things that you need to know. There are doctors that will just bring you into the office and insert a hollow needle and suck out the insides of the implant, whether saline or silicone or gummy bear or whatever it is, and call that explant, that they've removed the implant. There are doctors that go in and cut open the capsule. Remember, that's the scar tissue that the body builds around the implant. They will cut open that capsule and then take out the implant itself and then leave the capsule in the body. Okay. That is also not good. What needs to be done in order to rid your body of the toxins and the poisons and give you a fighting chance is to go in and remove that whole capsule with the implant inside of it together in one piece. And they call that en bloc. That means removing this whole capsule unbroken. No nicks, no tears. That is very difficult to do. And you need a board certified breast surgeon, not a plastic surgeon. This is critical. You need a breast surgeon to do that. Plastic surgeons are putting implants in, but they are not breast surgeons. There is a huge difference in the training that they've had. So you need a breast surgeon to remove that end block. And do you need to run? Okay. And that's what's most critical, is that you get out not only the implant, but the capsule around it and the entire thing. Now, if the capsule does happen to tear open, then it's important that they remove the implant and that they get out all the capsule. They go in and scrape it off the ribs and cut it away from the tissue that it's attached to. And even if it didn't come out whole in one piece, just be sure to get out all those pieces of capsule. And that is called a capsulectomy. So getting it all as one piece is called an explant en bloc. Getting it out, everything completely, but the capsule was torn or cut or broke, that's called a capsulectomy. That means that everything, including the capsule, was removed. And that is critical, because that capsule, that scar tissue that has been encasing the implant is full of toxins and poisons. And I know dozens of women who have had the implants removed and the doctors have left the capsule there and they have still been sick and can't figure out why. And sometimes the doctors have even said that they took everything out, but they didn't. And they've had to go back in a couple years later and have that capsule removed before they could begin to heal. So at the point that I went in, I found who I believe to be the very best breast surgeon in Utah, and one of the top in the country. And I am grateful and blessed that he was right here, just 15 minutes from home. And there was a long wait for him because he is the best. But I felt that it was worth the wait to know that it would be done right. At the point that I went in for breast explant surgery, remember I had gained 162 pounds. I had heart failure. My lungs were functioning at 60%. I was on 4 liters of oxygen 24 hours a day. Those of you who have had an elderly parent on oxygen know that 4 liters is pretty high. Several doctors had been honest with me and told me that I was dying. And because nobody knew what it was or how to deal with it, I was just dying. I'm going to show you a picture. I don't like it, but I really think it's important. Is that showing up on the?
Not yet. No, it's here.
Okay. How do I need to turn it a certain way to get glare off?
No,
Okay.
down.
This picture is me pre-surgery. You can see that I'm in the hospital with a hospital gown, ready to go in for explant surgery. You can see how sick I am in my eyes and in my skin. You can see how thin my hair is. I still tried to have a smile on my face, but there was so much extra fat, I could barely smile.
Inflammation.
And the internal inflammation of the tissues, everything is just hard and just inflamed. And it's not only full of fluid, it's full of toxins. The anesthesiologist didn't want to do surgery. He was afraid that I would die on the table. And my feeling was, I'm dying anyway, so at least give me a chance at life, by taking these implants out. So here's the miracle. I was so sick, and I had prepped myself mentally, telling myself, do not expect anything right away. Don't expect any results. It's going to take a long time. You are very sick. and it's going to take a while for your body to bounce back. I came out of surgery, and the doctor was able to get both implants and block, by the way, whole, which was amazing. And the other thing is that they were not ruptured. They were not torn. They looked exactly as they did the day they went in. He was very surprised, very blown away. He actually took pictures of them for me. I asked him to. And they just looked just as clear as brand new implants. You wouldn't know that they were 10 years old. Now, what that proves to me is that they don't have to tear or rupture in order to leak into your body to poison you. The poison leaches out through this porous product, even if they're fine. So that was a real testimony to me of that. So I came out of surgery and woke up from anesthesia, and I looked around and I could see my eyes were clear. That was amazing to me. And the brain fog had lifted. And I described it to my family as I felt like somebody opened the blinds and cleaned the windows. It just was so different. I had been so long with the brain fog and the poor vision, and it's just a curtain over your brain. I just don't even know how. Brain fog is the only way I can think to explain that. And to have that lifted and be able to think clearly all of a sudden and be able to see clearly all of a sudden, I was so blown away. So about a half an hour later, they said, why don't you go ahead and get dressed and we'll start preparing for you to go home. And they handed me my pajama pants, and I swung my legs around off the side of the bed and put my pajama pants on and stood up. Now that may not seem like much, but if you remember, I couldn't stand up without help. And as I did that, Doug was standing up from his chair to come over and help me get up off the bed, because there's no way I would have been able to stand up even on the bed, stand up off of the bed by myself pre-surgery. And by the time he stood up and came over, I was already up and had my pajama pants up. And it shocked me. We both looked at each other and said, did that just happen? It was amazing. It was miraculous. We came home and I got out of the car and we walked up to the front, and he opened the door and turned around to help me up those 2 steps. And I had already just walked up the 2 steps and was behind him. Again, miraculous. To see any response that quickly to me was absolutely miraculous. But as soon as the source of poison and toxins was out of my body, immediately my body began to heal itself. Immediately. So the reason that I did this live today is because today, July 18th, besides being my little friend Evie's birthday, she's 8 today, and my sister-in-law Chris's birthday. Hi, Chris. Happy birthday. The reason I did it today is because today, July 18th, 2020, is the 1-year anniversary of my explant surgery. It was July 18th, 2019. And it boggles my mind that a whole year has gone by. It just doesn't even seem like that long. I'll show you another picture, and I show you this one because it is without makeup. How's that coming across on there?
Not yet.
Okay, now
This is 2 days ago. I took this 2 days ago without any makeup. Every single month throughout this year, on the month date, I took a picture of me without makeup so that I could see from here to here. Is it up?
pull this one this way. Come towards me. Go back a little bit.
Okay. And I can show you all those later too if you want to see them. There are so many miracles in this story. You are so right. Yeah, that one was just 2 days ago. And then Doug took all my pictures from each month and he put them into, I don't know what you call it, one of those things that morphs. It's a morph, a slideshow that morphs from one face to the next to the next. And you can see me from the dying face all the way up to current. And I need to add this last picture in and then I'll share that with you because that is just so amazing. So amazing. And I'm looking at myself right now on the screen and oh gee, I didn't want to cry. God is good. There are so many miracles. In 1 year, let me tell you what has happened in 1 year. I have lost 105 pounds. I only have 57 to go to be where I was. And that's, boy, that does not bother me at all to say I've got 57 to go. That is not a complaint. I'm down 105 pounds from that 162. That's just amazing. I've got this spreadsheet of 82 symptoms that I am tracking. Every month I track them to see what's gone, what is better, and how much better. And so I can see the progress of that through the entire year. Almost everything has completely gone. Not everything. I still deal with pretty bad neuropathy, and I'm hoping that, a little more time will help that. And there are a few other things, but here is some amazing, miraculous things right here. Last week, I went to the hospital to run some tests that we had run last year. And you remember I said that at the time of surgery, I had heart failure. My heart has healed itself. My lungs were functioning at 60%. And I don't know what percent they're functioning at right now because of COVID. They're doing those lung function tests few and far between because you blow into machines and, we don't want to spread anything. And I'm totally okay waiting on that because I have a good idea. Another test that I did is called a 6-minute walk test. And it's exactly what it is, where they have you walk up and down a hall for 6 minutes. And we test the oxygen saturation when you start, and then test the oxygen saturation when you finish. And see how your body handles activity. You're right, Shirley. One of the first and best miracles was my God-sent husband. He is amazing. And that's one other piece that I want to touch on before we leave, is something about men. Anyway, last year when I did this, or the last time I did the 6-minute walk test, I had somebody walking beside me pushing oxygen. And we had to get up to 8 liters of oxygen in that 6 minutes in order to keep my oxygen saturation barely at 80%. You don't want it to go below 80%. When I did the 6-minute walk test last week, I had no oxygen. No oxygen. I was not carrying oxygen, and they did not walk beside me and give me oxygen there. When I started testing, oxygen was at 93%. When I finished the test, my oxygen was at 93%. So that gives me a really good idea of where my lung function is at this point. So I'm confident that they are healing themselves as well. Those are miracles to me, because my biggest fear was that the implants would do some permanent damage to my heart or lungs or other organs, kidney and liver and things like that, that were having problems. I mean, pretty much everything was having problems. Excuse me while I blow my nose. Don't want to do that on camera. About husbands. Doug is amazing. He has been beside me from the beginning. You know, we were married 3 months when I got breast cancer, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I gave him an option and said, this is not what you signed up for. If you want out, I totally understand. He did not want. He said, we both know where we're supposed to be. And anytime that you go through a major trial in life, something that's majorly difficult for one or both, hi, Amy, it can either tear you apart or bring you together. It can bring you closer together. Thank you, Linda. We talked about it, and we made a conscious choice to allow the trials in life that we have in life, starting with the cancer that we were dealing with, to allow them to bring us closer together, to use them for that purpose, and not ever let them become something that came between us to drive us apart. As we went through breast cancer and we went to the doctors and got chemotherapy and things like that, we were both blown away to hear doctors and nurses tell us that more than 60% of men leave their wives during breast cancer. Just couldn't even believe that. Whether they can't handle the emotional impact or the financial impact, or the physical impact. They each have their own reason, but that is huge. So for you guys, you know, if your wife, your woman, your girlfriend, daughter, anybody ever gets breast cancer, it is certainly not their cause. It's certainly not because of anything they have done. And I guarantee you it's not something they would ever choose to go through. And the most important thing in the world to them is your support and your unconditional love. That it doesn't matter how they look. Doug tells me all the time, I didn't marry you for your breasts. I married you for you. I'd rather we don't have them. I just want a wife back. And for that, I am so grateful. Another thing is the medical professionals. Most doctors have not yet become aware of breast implant illness and that it is an actual thing. Just during this last year, a lot of progress has been made, and they have actually acknowledged it. I know that I should be careful about what I say, so I will just say this. In my research, and you all know how I research things very thoroughly, I found documentation that showed that the manufacturers and the FDA have known about these kind of effects of the implants, of these consequences of having those poisons in your body for decades. For decades. And there's a really good cover-up going on. And, you know, we can talk about it all day, but that it's all about the money. But it is. And we have to uncover it. We have to uncover it because there are women that are sick that are being told that they're crazy. I know women that are sick right now that just want their implants out, whose husbands are telling them, well, there's no proof that it's actually your implants making you sick. So I don't think that you should get them out. And, you know, Doug's philosophy to me was, if there's any chance at all that it's the implants, let's get them out. Let's get them out. The implants and your physical being are not what's important. Saving your life is. I'm really, really grateful for all of you for coming here today to support me. I've just felt this big weight on my shoulders that I should get just this little piece of my story out. Somebody said something about writing a book. I think it might have been Marilyn. I had 3 doctors tell me I should write a book about my experience because I was the worst. 3 doctors said I should write a book. I've had 4 doctors tell me that I was the worst case of anything like this that they've seen. I had one doctor that he believes in breast implant illness and he does explants, but he was even afraid to tell me that he thought I would improve and get better because I was so far gone. Neck pain. Shirley, how's my neck pain now? Oh, okay. So for 8 years, I could not sleep on the back of my head, and I only slept 3 to 3.5 hours a night. Within 2 weeks after surgery, I could sleep on the back of my head. I can now sleep any side of my head. The problem is that my circadian rhythms are all messed up, and so my body still doesn't sleep through the night. Oh, that's Lucy. I'll show you Lucy before we leave. Lucy's a new member of the family. So I'm not sleeping through the night. So I'm working on that because there are other problems that come from not getting enough sleep. I'm literally 8 years sleep deprived, but I had the adrenaline to keep me going. My adrenaline is back down to normal. Everything is back down to normal. So I don't have the adrenaline to offset no sleep. So then there's other issues that come from that. So really working on the sleep thing, but my neck pain is, I would probably say 90% gone, Shirley. And that is absolutely amazing. And my neck going into my shoulder, and watch very closely. My left arm that wouldn't go past my shoulder, look at that. It's up above my head. It's up above my head. It didn't take long after surgery and I could suddenly lift up that arm. So here's what happened. Every time I had surgery, the anesthesia would go in and activate the poisons and toxins in my body a little bit more and make them basically just blow up, just burst and become even more active in my body. That one surgery that I had in January of 2013, there was a lot of anesthesia besides the general, a lot of local, concentrated in one area in this quadrant of my body. And so it essentially went in and blew up the poisons and the toxins, which then paralyzed my nerves. So we thought that the nerve damage was permanent. I was told that that nerve damage was permanent. It's been 8 years, and what you get back in about the first 12 months is about all you're going to get back. But it wasn't 100% permanent damage. There may be a little bit, but it wasn't 100% permanent damage. It was the poisons paralyzing my nerves. When the nerves don't function, they don't send messages to the muscles. So then the muscles can't function. And that's why I then couldn't lift my arm. And because of the nerves, that was the great pain. And then not being able to, the muscles not functioning, that's why I couldn't use those things. So yeah, that is almost all gone. Enough that I can lay on my back and actually feel like a normal person when I lay down. I can put my head back on the recliner and I can take a nap in the recliner, which is amazing. Hi, Trudy. It is up to God. And God has been very good this year in guiding me to the right doctors and healing me. So, Linda, you want to help me write that book? Do you guys have any questions written down?
So the only question that I've seen is this one, which you've already answered, but I can't figure out how to post the picture to the comments.
I don't think you can. Marianne asked about the chemicals that are in the implants. I did read what some of those
Facebook Live event in the comments.
Okay.
She wants to go there.
You did put it there? Okay. There is a picture that shows the chemical soup, the shell and the filling in silicone that Donna posted to the Facebook Live the Facebook Live. So it's on Facebook.
It's on under your
under my profile, mine and Doug's profile. We share a profile. That picture is there. And I will post it in Happy Paper People, and I'll send it, I'll text it to anybody who wants it. I've got it in picture form. And so those who came in late, it doesn't matter whether they're silicone or saline, all implants are encased in a silicone shell. So they all have silicone in them. Okay, so here's something that's really, really critical as well. I know women that have had their implants for a very long time and they are not sick. They're not having any problems. And you say, why is that when you about died and other people are so sick? In my research, I have found that women that have a genetic tendency towards any autoimmune disease or issue are going to get sick. And they're going to get sick much faster and much harder than others. Now, that doesn't mean that someone that doesn't have an autoimmune tendency won't get sick from them, but it means that if you do have that genetic tendency, if you're already dealing with Crohn's or chronic fatigue or thyroid or lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or any of those things, there is no question you are going to immediately start getting sick and things are only going to get worse. Women who haven't had anything are getting diagnosed with all those autoimmune issues and taking drugs for all the thyroid issues and scleroderma and, all of these autoimmune and chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia because of the muscles and the joints and things. And that's not really what it is. It's all, what's the word?
Chemical of triggering the autoimmune disorders.
What was I saying? I just saw a comment and I just blocked the user. And I lost my train of thought.
Oh. Sorry.
That's okay. What
you were talking about?
What was the last thing I said? What was the last thing I said?
You were talking about how people who don't have it but have all these different symptoms.
Oh,
they think it's
okay.
autoimmune.
So people who don't have a genetic tendency maybe towards autoimmune issues or are not already diagnosed with an autoimmune illness, they are being diagnosed with all of those autoimmune illnesses and being given all kinds of drugs. And so, we end up taking, I'd have to count. There was one point I thought, you just need to take a picture of all these drugs that you take every morning and every night. And I told myself that every single day, and I never did. I couldn't bring myself to do it, and I just didn't. I wish that I had. Thank you, Bargie. But I can go back and count how many drugs I was taking. But, if they're being given all these drugs for thyroid issues and all the Hashimoto's and things like that. And that's not really what they're dealing with. Those are just chemicals as well that are going to cause additional problems. So just be aware of that. If you have implants, or if you are thinking about getting implants, if you know somebody who has implants and you know that they have dealt with autoimmune issues, then just watch very carefully. You know, it comes on like the frog in warm water, and you don't really realize because it's so slowly. And most of us women in the age of 30 to 50, 60, that might be getting implants or having had them for a while, start feeling these things. Most of us find reasons to justify. I'm just tired because I'm raising all these little kids and I'm working too. I'm tired because I'm running this business and I'm so busy. I'm so fatigued. I'm just crazy busy, and premenopause and all these things. And we try to find, it's because we try to find a reason for it. We try to logic it. But those things really aren't the cause. They really aren't. So
Question just came in.
Often it's somebody other than the person who has the implants that kind of recognizes and can maybe gently point them in the right direction to go start researching it. I've had women tell me, I've had my implants for 15 years and I don't have any problems at all. I get headaches sometimes, and I'm tired, but I'm busy, and they'll name 4 or 5 symptoms. And I think, well, did you ever have headaches before you had implants? Have you had headaches your whole life? No. And do you get 8 hours of sleep a night? Are you overly busy? Are you really burning the candle at both ends for years? No, but just really busy at this time of life. But we find ways to justify it, especially if doctors are saying there's nothing wrong with you, if they run some blood work and say everything is okay. So Trudy, I agree. We do need to get this out there, and it's really important. And so I'm okay with if anybody wants to share this with anybody they know that has implants or is thinking about getting implants. This was unscripted, so it's just very real and raw how it is. If there's a lot of stuff down the road that people want to know about, I would be willing to do another one of these where we have specific, want to know about specific things. Let's see. Questions. If someone has them but doesn't see any symptoms, should they still get them removed?
Wouldn't they see any trace amounts?
Wouldn't they see any trace amounts of toxins in the blood tests? Well, probably if they looked for them, but when they do standard blood work, they're not looking for those toxins and those poisons and chemicals. They don't really test for rat poison unless they have a reason to think that, maybe somebody's poisoning you with rat poison. So those things aren't found because they aren't looked for, honestly. Should they have them removed? I think for me, if I found out all of this and I didn't think that I was sick, I would go ahead and have them removed. But I really think that that's a personal decision. And I don't think that I could state that for someone else. But I do think that everybody who has implants should educate themselves, should do the research, should get on that Facebook group and get information. There's a website associated with the Facebook group that has just tons of information that answers so many questions. And just be aware so that if things start to happen, you are aware of what's happening in your body. And if they don't, just be grateful. Count yourself blessed that you did not have any negative results from them. Oh, thank you, Shelley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I missed out on so much the last few years I was in Arizona with my Mango sisters. Mangoes, I've said that a couple of times. That's a group of women. We started out with maybe 15. That for over 20 years, yeah, over 20 years, we have gotten together every month, every single month. And as a group have been through a lot of things with, people's lives. Somebody, it takes them every month and plans the event and everybody gets together. So these, while not blood related, are my extended sisters. And I can tell you that breast implant illness really affected my relationship with them the last few years. It becomes very difficult to explain it and to say I'm sick, but yet you can't really define what's wrong with you. And you feel very wrong saying, I'm so tired that I just can't leave the house to come to this event, because tired isn't even the right word, but yet not knowing how to explain it. It's, thanks, Victoria. I love you too. Any other questions that anybody has? 28 years. Thank you, Marilyn. Marilyn's always good. She's a numbers girl. 28 years. That's amazing. Did you have any questions written down from anybody? Mm-hmm. Did anybody else have any questions that you want to throw out now? Like I said, I tried to prepare something, but I just couldn't. And so what I have is about what I have. So if anybody has any questions, now would be a perfect time to answer them. I don't know what kind of delay there is, so I'll give a few seconds for that. But meet Lucy. Look, Lucy, look over here. She's like, why are you putting me up in the air? This is Lucy. Some of you remember our boxer Shotzi that we had in Phoenix. Lucy's a spitting image of Shotzi, and she is a boxer puppy. She's 8 years old today. 8 years old. She's 8 weeks old. Lucy, you're so old. She's 8 weeks old today, and she's just a sweetheart. She's a little sweetheart. She is cute. Can't say how glad I am you're doing so well. Wish you were closer. Pray for continued recovery. Oh, thank you, Shirley and Benny. Boy, that means a lot to me. That means a lot. So thank you. I will see some of you soon. I'll see some of you soon tonight on a live. I'll see some of you next week. Hopefully see my mangoes next week. Any questions, you can put them in comments, and then I will address them there or get back with you personally. But again, thank you for coming to support me today, and feel free to share it with anybody that you think could use the information. I love you all. Have a great Saturday night and stay safe. What time is the live? You're safer at home. What time is the live tonight? The live tonight is at 8 o'clock Arizona time, which is an hour and a half from now. That is the Happy Paper People live, where we are going to just have fun. Thanks, Margie, for being here. 8 o'clock, Sharon put it. Yep. Oh, Trudy, I didn't realize Trudy had asked. Thanks, Lisa, for being here. Hi, Kathy. Bye, Kathy. I'll see y'all real soon. Thank you for coming. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.